David Spencer is going to join us in just a second. He's Head of Crime and Justice at Policy Exchange. There's some really disturbing, horrific footage out there about a gang of teenage girls terrorising a high street, smashing windows, stealing from them, telling shop staff the police won't help you. This is Britain in 2025. Let's just have a look at this. I'll narrate it for you if you're listening on the radio.
This is a high street under siege from a group of teenagers causing damage, stealing and making threats.
I will kill you.
God's sake.
I will kill you.
These are teenage girls saying, I will kill you, to shopkeepers. These are young women, girls, wreaking absolute havoc, totally out of control, feral. There's also some horrific footage out there about shoplifters loading bags with bottles of booze at Waitrose, a hapless security guard standing next to them. Britain is just out of control. David Spencer's with me now, Head of Crime and Justice at Policy Exchange, one of the think tanks in London. David, what do you think it says when these people can just act with such impunity at such a young age, saying they know the police are never going to lift them, they're never going to face justice?
Good afternoon, Peter. Well, I think impunity is absolutely the right word. There is a culture of impunity in reality about shoplifting and generally the sorts of crimes that you're talking about here and that you've seen, that your viewers will have seen here. And, you know, it's absolutely right that, you know, it's ironic almost that one of the people in these videos said the police won't help you, you know, they won't do anything. And that unfortunately is proven to be correct. Policy Exchange looked earlier this year about what the cost of these sorts of crimes are to the economy. And what we found was that the cost to business alone of crime in the UK is about 38 billion a year. That's just the cost of crime to businesses. And the reality is we are seeing this time and again. And one of the other concerns I think here is that when people do choose to step in, whether that's members of the public, whether that's shopkeepers themselves, they become really worried that actually if they do step in, then either they'll get beaten up, they'll get assaulted, or they'll get arrested themselves.
Well, we saw just, what was it, a couple of weeks ago, the man who took his trousers down on public transport, and then people asked him very politely to put them back on again, and then less politely to put them back on again as there were people around. They were arrested for assault. He got off scot-free, and there is this real worry, a sense, and also the reality of two-tier justice in our country. How do we get the rule of law back? How do we start putting victims first, David?
Well, I think you're right. There is just a real sense whose side are the authorities on, whose side are the police and the courts on, because time and again, it feels like we're seeing these sorts of cases. In terms of how we get it right, I think certainly one of the things that I would say is that there is a sort of progressivist ideology at the heart of policing the criminal justice system, which has taken hold over the last 30 years. And we really need to correct some of the ideas that are at the heart of that, which have been able to embed themselves in the criminal justice system. So, for example, you mentioned two-tier policing, two-tier sentencing, and the sort of sentencing guidelines that came out earlier this year. We've got to rip this stuff out by the root. We simply cannot have it in the criminal justice system.
But if there aren't enough prison places, David, if we have first Shabana Mahmood, formerly as Justice Secretary, now David Lammy, saying they want to put fewer people in prison, you know and I know that those girls in that video will never see the inside of a prison cell.
Well, that's absolutely correct. I mean, aside from younger offenders, certainly when we look at adults, then we absolutely need to see more of those people in prison, and we need to see more prison places built to do it. The reality is the endless community sentences and rehabilitation programs that the most prolific offenders get. Again, Policy Exchange looked at this only very recently over the summer. The most prolific offenders, and I'm talking about people with over 75 previous criminal convictions, in over half of cases, those people walk scot-free out of court after they get convicted again. They don't see the inside of a prison cell. And so it is absolutely necessary that what we start to see is the criminal justice system taking seriously the law, the needs of the law-abiding majority, and actually locking these people up and sending them to prison.
David, thank you. That's David Spencer, their Head of Crime and Justice at Policy Exchange.